I'm Tarumi, and you are tuned in to We TV, Making a Difference in Your Community, a program by the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. Have you ever wondered what goes into building a bridge or a dam? Or who designs and builds the country's highways and flyovers? Or how is the traffic light system managed? Tune in every other week exclusively on CTV, where we will answer these questions and more. We TV will take you right to where the action is, speak to the decision makers and the people on the ground that make it all possible. Every other week, the Honorable Dr. Rambachan or a representative from the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure will join me on set, where they will take your calls live on air. But before we get to that, in this episode, we will be exploring some of the many roles and responsibilities of the ministry. My co-host Reagan visited the ministry's headquarters to do just that. Let's take a look.
Hey guys, my name is Reagan, and it is a beautiful windy day in front of the head office of the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, which is at the corner of Richmond and London Streets in Port of Spain. Now, why am I here? Well, I'm here to give you a tour of the building, as well as to introduce you to some heads of departments who will help us get a better understanding of the processes that help keep this nation on the go. So, let's head in. There is a myriad of divisions here at the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. Right now, we are speaking with Mr. Roger Ganesh, who is the Director of Highways. Correct. Mr. Ganesh, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Can you give me some insight in terms of your roles and responsibilities as the Director of Highways?
Okay, the Highways Division of the Ministry is very large. In fact, it's larger than a lot of ministries. It's just a division, but a very large division. Our primary responsibility, of course, is planning, basically all activities around highway construction, highway maintenance, all developments along highways, the interchange, highway traffic management systems. Every single project that goes on our highways basically has to come through our division, particularly under my control. And we have, of course, several project units in the ministry. You have project units. You were speaking recently to Mr. Ram Singh. He's the director of a project unit for the interchange and for the Kida interchange. And those projects, we have a director in charge of bridges, landslips, and traffic management systems. Mr. Mahadev, he's in charge of that project unit. We also have another project unit that deals with basically major highway development, major trunk roads throughout the country. And of course, the core operations of the Highways Division, these were a lot of maintenance issues as well as the planning issues for major highways like the Digger Martin Highway expansion, the Digger Martin Highway extension, the Digger Martin Highway interchange, and all the east-west corridor projects, south projects, east projects. Everything on the Highways Division basically comes under this umbrella of the unit itself for planning, for management, and for execution.
If I could ask you a simple question, what would be your definition of a highway, and how do Trinidad's highways live up to that definition? And if they don't, what do you think needs to be done to get them to your definition?
Okay, our highways, in fact, we have roughly about 8 highways in the country. These highways, when compared, let's say, for instance, developed countries like in the UK and in the US, the definition for highways in those areas is basically strictly a highway where we have limited access to the actual network, and all access is via interchanges. Unlike our highways in this country, the evolutionary process, of course, had to cater for a lot of roads and major roads, a lot of access. It's the way how our network evolved. A lot of people may not recognize this, but most of our main roads are more than 500 years old. They existed during the Carib Arawak ages. Wow. In Napmaya Road, such an example. The Eastern Mirror, another example. So our network of roads had to develop around basically these main roads, our highways in fact. So we had to cater for a lot of access to the highway, which is not a true definition of a highway. We're a freeway where you have minimum access to a highway. Right. A highway has a few accesses to interchanges, but as well limited, unlike our highways where we have a lot of access. Because of these various accesses to these highways, we have a lot of congestion problems. And in fact, over the last 5, 10, 15 years, we have more congestion problems, and we have to invest more money in interchanges like the Ura Bottle Highway interchange at Grand Bazaar. That's one. The planned one for Kedana, that's another interchange. And of course, the other one planned in the near future, which is the next year or so, is the one at Diego Martin. We are building more interchanges as we go along south to Point Fortin, along that new highway, from Golconda to Point Fortin. A lot of indigenous will build on that highway. So we have highways, yes. We have no freeways of yet in Trinidad. We are planning a freeway, of course, but that's still in the planning stages. But that's basically our highway is not truly 100% highway as you know it that exists in the US or UK, but it's a major, let's call it a major arterial then, our highways.
Very nice. What aspects of our highways do you think need improvement? What would you do to them to make them better?
There are several things really to improve the efficiency and the safety of our highway network. We call it the 4 E's: education, engineering, enforcement, and evaluation.
Right.
These are the 4 E's in traffic engineering and transportation planning.
Nice.
And we try that here as much as possible. We here, of course, respond for engineering and to some extent education.
Okay.
Enforcement agencies have to ensure that the rules and laws are enforced. Traffic regulations, speed limits, encroachment, enforcement. And of course, when we look at all these different aspects of it, the evaluation is where we come up with new ideas and of course to improve the efficiency, of course, of the network. So when we evaluate, we improve. We plan more highways, we plan major changes. We go back to the planning stages of education and engineering as well. So evaluation is a critical process in the 4 E's.
Very good stuff. I mean, amazing. I mean, you pretty much summed up everything right there. Evaluation, enforcement, education, and the 4th is engineering?
Engineering, yes.
Yes, got it all right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ganesh. It was a pleasure meeting you. Some great stuff here at the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, and Mr. Ganesh is the Director of Highways. Learned a lot in this past couple of minutes. Thank you so much. It's right back to you, to Rumi in studio. Stay tuned.
Thanks, Reagan. Don't forget that we will be taking your calls later in studio. You can also submit your questions to the Ministry's Facebook page or tweet at MOWIGOVTT. WeTV will be right back.
Have you ever wondered what it takes to build a bridge or dam? Who designs and builds the country's highways and flyovers? Be viewing CTV Wednesday nights at 8 for WeTV, making a difference in your community, an initiative by the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. See the ministry's roles and functions unraveled right before your eyes. WeTV Wednesday nights at 8, taking your calls live with the Minister, the Honorable Dr. Suraj Ratan Rambachan. WeTV, making a difference in your community, your government working for you.
Welcome back to the show. Don't forget, in our next segment, we will be taking your calls live on air. Or you can send in your questions via the Ministry's Facebook page and Twitter account. Now it's back to Reagan, who has more really interesting interviews.
We're at the office of the Program Director for PURE, which is an acronym for the Program for Upgrading Roads Efficiency. And we're here sitting with Mr. Hayden Phillip. Hayden, thanks for being here with us. Or rather, thanks for opening up your doors to us. Give us an idea of when and why did PURE get started, and what are your objectives?
Okay, in 2003, the Ministry of Works did what they call a road inventory and a condition survey of all its assets. Coming out of that, they recognized in this country we had some 10,000 kilometers of road.
That's a lot of road.
Yeah, 22% belong to the Ministry of Works, which will be the main roads and highways. Another 55%, what we call minor roads, belong to the regional corporation, and the rest all belong to either Ministry of Agriculture, orphan roads, which we have a large amount of orphan roads in this country, and the Tobago House of Assembly. What we recognized from this survey was that we had some 50% of the roads sort of fair to good, and the other 50% critical, poor, not so fair. So this program was implemented to try to help supplement the road programs that we had. So it was set up to actually coexist and complement existing road programs, which were like the Highways Division, the Road Construction Branch, the local government, and all the other road programs they may have, Bridges Branch. It was set up to help complement them, okay? In so doing, we started a drive where we rehabilitated roads, drains, paving. That was the first genesis. But from that, we recognized the capacity of the roads with the volumes of vehicle was just not, we didn't have that capacity. So the program evolved into something much larger. So we had this new strategic intent, And in order to implement this intent, we had 4 areas that we work on in Pure. Traffic management measures, which is basically what you see happening in from Port of Spain to east or to Shogunas.
Increasing the number of lanes.
The highways increased from 2 lanes to 3 lanes over the years. You see, we have what we call alternate access routes. And that is like, if you head into south to Princestown, if you stay on the old road, it can take an hour. If you go through Daisy Road and M1 Tasker Road, those are new roads we have built, what we call alternate access routes. We have them in Gasparillo, we have them in Shogunas. We also have one of the areas also what we call slope stabilization. Now, most of our rural roads are built in this countryside on slopes, and they have a lot of landslips throughout the country. With one landslip, it could mean these communities are being cut off from the rest of the country. So another major part of our program is to keep that connectivity with all the communities. So what we do a lot of the major landslips and all the major roads to ensure that we don't cut off any part of the country from people from basic needs. And then the last part, which is the most cost-intensive part, really, is what we call road rehab. And that is where the program started. Now, we have, as I say, over 10,000 kilometers. That was at 2003. I'm sure it's about 15,000 kilometers now, all right? So to keep pace with that, a large part of the program is doing these roads, rehabilitating these roads. But it's done in a very holistic manner. Some of the roads, Blanchisseuse Road, from Arima to Blanchisseuse, that is almost 30 miles on the road in total disrepair. So what we do on a phase basis is we would start doing the drainage and landslip repairs. Then we'll come after and we'll do the road works while they continue with drainage. The same thing on the Komoto Main Road, the same thing on all these roads deep south, the roads to Princestown. This is what we're doing. So everywhere you go and you see a signs Pure working, this is what we're doing. Because it makes no sense. We no longer go on paved roads. So we go in first, fix the infrastructure, fix the bridges, fix the culverts, do the necessary drainage, then we come and we pave. So that's what you would see a lot of the work going on. But another major aspect, I would say, besides the road rehab, would be our traffic management measures. At present time, Valencia bypass, which is so needed, because to get into the east, past Valencia is a nightmare. Takes people sometime an hour or so. The Valencia bypass is under construction right now. It's almost 70% completed. We have 2 new bridges there. There'll be a whole complete new road network we will be having there to get to Valencia and those who go into further Toco, Sandy Grande. Then we have, as I mentioned, we have the Aruca Bridge ongoing, which is by the Twin City Mall. This will be completed by the end of August. Okay, basically we finished the westbound lane, half of the eastbound lane, so it's just one more portion of that bridge to build. We have the Dabadi Bridge, which was situated in Dabadi, which is a bridge was almost 100 years old and was ready to collapse. Okay, we closed the road for in January, and 2 weeks ago, Sunday, 2 weeks ago, we had that new bridge installed, all designed and project managed by Pure. Well, this is another great aspect about Pure. In Pure, we do all our own designs, all our project management, all our project supervision. So in fact, what we save in the national community and taxpayers is almost 9.5% of whatever construction budget that we have to manage. So basically, in the last 2-3 years, we would have saved over $250 million by doing our own designs, our own project management, our own project supervision. So this is a key aspect. We're also developing this capacity, this human resource, because, I mean, we can't be always going outside for foreigners to come and do our designs and our project management. So this is part of the Pure goal also. This is part of its strategic intent to develop that human resource capacity.
Okay, now I want to get into the chronology of exactly what Pure does. And let's use Twin City Mall, the bridge right there, as an example. What do you do from start to finish, and how has the work that you've done at the Twin City Bridge positively affected the environment?
Okay, what we'll do is studies. We'll do traffic counts, we will do soil tests, we'll do all these pre-feasibility studies before we go there. Then our engineers here at Pure, we will then go and do all our designs based on international standards, AASHTO, and when we complete these designs, then we'll go to tender for the bridge. Now, what we look at is not just reinstating a roadway or getting 3 lanes. We also look at the entire area. We also look at the hydraulic capacity. We look at what's affecting the area. what was affecting Trinity in a big way was flooding, because the hydraulic capacity of that existing bridge wasn't meeting the flow that it was taking. So part of the whole design, part of the whole rehabilitation of this bridge was to also increase that hydraulic capacity, which was done in the first phase of the bridge already. So at the end of this bridge, not only will we have 3 lanes of highway without that impediment coming from Port of Spain to Maloney, but we'll also reduce any sort of flooding in Trinity tremendously. I think we have seen some rains and we haven't seen anything like that yet. And we are almost confident that Trinity flooding in the malls and the surrounding areas would, unless it's some major storm, it's not going to happen because of the capacity we have increased the bridge by.
We have to commend you on your approach to youth, especially those leaving university. Describe that approach to us.
Okay, we have, what we do is, we had a few seasoned engineers here, but as the program evolved, we have need for the engineers. So what we do, we take them on the vacation program. Some of them come from the first year, second year, they get training here. And on the final year, we give a couple of them the opportunity to remain, you know. And if you look around the office here, most of our engineers who designing all these roads and bridges, all are below 30 years old. So you have engineers between 23 and 30 years old that is giving this great savings to this country. So basically the Ministry of Works is supposed to be the largest construction and design firm in the country. We're supposed to be. But we have lost that over the years. So basically what we are doing is developing back that human resource capacity for the ministry, so that we have, this for the future of the country. You don't have to depend on outside help, you don't have to depend on when you don't have funds, if you don't have a consultant. And not only that, to implement projects is much faster. When you have to implement a project with consultancy, you have to go with a RFP, a request for proposal. That would take probably 3 to 4 months. Then you have to go out to tender for that. Then you have to go out to tender for designs. Then you have to go out for tender. So where a bridge will normally take in the past 1.5 years to 2 years, within 6 months in Pure, we have bridges completed because we do our own designs, our own project management, our own project supervision, and our implementation, along with the private, of course, the private sector contractors we have in the country.
Some amazing, exciting stuff. Thank you so much, Hayden. Hayden Phillip, Program Director of the Program for Upgrading Roads Efficiency. Turumi, it's back to you.
Thanks, Reagan. Don't forget that we will be taking your calls later in studio. You can also submit your questions to the Ministry's Facebook page or tweet at MOWIGOVTT. Now it's time for a quick break. WeTV will be right back.
Have you ever wondered what it takes to build a bridge or dam? Who designs and builds the country's highways and flyovers? Be viewing CTV Wednesday nights at 8 for WeTV, Making a Difference in Your Community, an initiative by the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. See the ministry's roles and functions unraveled right before your eyes. WeTV Wednesday nights at 8, taking your calls live with the Minister, the Honorable Dr. Suraj Ratan Rambachan. WeTV, Making a Difference in Your Community, your government working for you.
Welcome back to WeTV, Making a Difference in Your Community. If you are just joining us, in this episode, we are exploring the roles and responsibilities of the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. With over 7,000 employees, the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, which was established in 1956, is one of the largest ministries in Trinidad and Tobago. Some of the services expertly carried out by the employees are the construction and maintenance of highways, major waterways, and traffic management. Let's head back to the ministry's head office to learn a bit more.
Hey guys, welcome back to WeTV, Making a Difference in Your Community. Now, one department which is completely interesting and pivotal to transport management in TNT. It is the Port of Spain East-West Transportation Project, and right now we have Navin Ramsingh, who is the program coordinator. Thanks, Navin, for opening up your doors to us. Can you give us some insight into your program?
All right, well, the Port of Spain East-West Corridor Transportation Program is a program that was established by the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure to identify projects along the corridor, which we call the East-West Corridor, projects that will reduce traffic congestion and ultimately traveling time for motorists. Now, when we looked at projects, we looked at both the hard, which is the concrete type projects, such as the interchange, the Aranguez overpass, and we looked at soft projects where we use technology. And we looked towards what we call intelligent transportation system, which is the new emerging direction in transportation engineering.
Can you go a bit further into the soft programming? Exactly how is this used?
Well, soft programming basically basically uses technology to manage traffic as it goes through as it uses the highways, right? In the ministry, what we did to date is we have established what you call our National Traffic Management Center, right? The headquarters of the National Traffic Management Center is at the Ministry of Works head office in Port of Spain. What we did under this program is we deployed two systems, basically. One, what we call the Corridor Traffic Management System, where we have established cameras basically from Anna Street to the interchange, and the other component, which is called the Traffic Signal Control Systems, right? Using the Corridor Traffic Management System, we're able to see and view the traffic as they passes through the corridor. And by just looking at the traffic from a traffic management perspective, we could come up with solutions, like what is causing congestion at certain areas. And apart from which, whenever there's an incident, right, it is noted by the center, and we are basically call the relevant agencies. The objective is to clear the incident as quickly as possible to minimize traffic congestion. And the second system, which we call the Traffic Signal Control System, is where we upgraded all the what we call the uncoordinated traffic controllers to what we call coordinated traffic controllers. So all the traffic lights between Anna Street and the interchange are now fully linked to the control center downstairs by virtue of our WiMAX system. So in the center, at any point in time, we could view the traffic signal controller and we could tell you what phase it's in, and we could make changes in real time, right? So those are the basic systems that we have in place, and as I stated initially, is a pilot deployment, because what we didn't want to do in Trinidad is deploy a technology that is not suitable for our environment. So we have deployed this technology since 2012, and to date we have no problem with the technology. And it's the ministry plan now to extend this technology, right? We are right now in the early stages of seeking approval to extend the system up to Piaco on the east and up to Couva heading south, right? This we anticipate by next year these systems will be deployed in these areas.
Sounds like a really exciting department you work in. Can you describe from start till finish, maybe one of the projects that you've just completed? How did it start and how did it finish?
Well, one of the projects that I could talk about is the interchange. Right? This interchange project, we all know, is a project that has been in the pipeline for the longest while. So in 2005, we brought back consultants because we know what is happening at the interchange, the amount of traffic congestions and the delays caused by that intersection on a daily basis, both during the morning and the evening peak. So in 2005, we brought in a consultant and we started looking at a solution for the interchange. Because of the fact that we needed to provide relief to motorists every year, we realized that it's impossible to try to solve the entire interchange in one. So we went into what you call a phase implementation, whereby each phase supports the other. So in 2005, we had hired a consultant. We came up with what you have the conceptual design. In 2006, we opened what you call the south to west ramp. 2 years after, in 2009, we opened the main ramp, which is the ramp if you're leaving Port of Spain. We call it the west to south ramp was open. Together we removed the lights at Grand Bazaar or Bamboo number 2. And then in 2013, we completed the interchange and the entire lights were decommissioned. So right now you have an interchange with absolutely no traffic lights and everybody is enjoying the benefits of the interchange presently. Now the project is not completed because we are still doing some work in Grand Bazaar and we still have some additional signage to be installed.
I understand that your next project, or you know you're currently working on it, is the Curep interchange. Do you think that that's going to help alleviate traffic further?
Well, now that the interchange is completed, motorists and, I forgot to mention the Aranguez overpass. Now what we did is we also, parallel to the interchange, we went and we removed 2 traffic lights, the one at El Sicora and Aranguez, and we built 1 overpass. The objective of that is so that when you leave Port of Spain, once you pass Abattoir Road, you will have a freeway condition. You'll have absolutely no traffic light. So motorists leaving Port of Spain who are heading south have no traffic lights until they reach San Fernando. That's where we conceptualize what we call the Kedona interchange or the Curep interchange. Because we said that we needed to build an interchange at that main intersection. And this interchange will not only remove the light at Southern Main Road, but will also remove the 3 lights before it. What you call the Valsayn North light, the Val Park light or the Valsayn South light, and the Curep interchange light. So motorists now in the afternoon will enjoy, I would say, reduced congestion up to UE. UE is the next light that they will meet. And what we, as part of the planning of the package D interchange, which we call the Curep interchange, is that we will be optimizing the traffic lights at UE. Right? Some people in UE will have to go to the interchange in order to access UE. Okay. So you will have some optimization to the benefit of the traveling public. And absolutely you will get some reduced travel time.
Awesome, amazing stuff. Thank you so much, Navin, Program Director of the Port of Spain East-West Transportation Project. We'll have a lot more for you after this break. Stay tuned. So we're here about to chat with Darren Brito, who is the supervisor of this department, and he's going to give us some insight as to the new Traffic Management Center's technology, which will revolutionize how we look at traffic management in TNT. So as promised, we're sitting here with Darren Brito, who is the supervisor of the National Traffic Management Center. Darren, let's start with the responsibilities of the department.
Okay. So the National Traffic Management Center was commissioned in May 2011. It became operational in July 2012. We are responsible for the improvement of traffic on the east-west corridor, that is the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway, and to some extent the Uriah Butler Highway.
Specifically to the east-west?
Yeah, but specifically to the east-west corridors. The NTMC is an ongoing pilot project, and we are hoping to expand as we begin to learn more of the system and its capabilities. We're hoping to go down, expand on the corridor, both on the Churchill-Roosevelt and on the Uriah Butler Highway.
And this is a pilot project, as you said. Yeah, what are the benefits of a project like this?
Right, so within it is a proven strategy that managing incident on the highway helps reduce congestion as quickly as possible. So an incident would include things like accidents, stalled vehicles, flooding, weather conditions, any major incident. Think of it as like what happens if you have an oil spill or you have a sinkhole or something. Managing that incident improves the congestion on the traveling public in a more efficient way.
I guess the obvious question would be do you work hand in hand with the police service in managing traffic?
The NTMC partners with all its stakeholders, so not only the TTPS, but we also work with fire services, the ambulance, any agency that we need to be able to get in contact with in order to effectively manage.
Darren, if you could paint a picture for us, a practical picture. All right, there's traffic on the highway. You create the cause. What exactly happens next?
Right, so the operators that you see in the background will be the first responders. They will detect the incident through the use of the CCTV cameras as part of the NTMC. Once that is detected, they will verify that there's an incident, and then we will call. So we would normally call either E99 or Highway Division, right? If there's a fire, because sometimes we get fire, they will call the fire service, and we also monitor. So if it gets any progressively worse, we would give feedback to the respective agency that, you know, it's getting worse and we need to look at it, and so on. Police tend to work with us more than other agencies, because once they clear an incident, they would like to know how the traffic is being affected. If they still need to have personnel out there still, you know, monitoring the traffic, still pulling the traffic, and we work with them in that scenario.
This is a pretty exciting technology. I mean, your staff here seem really happy to be working with it. I mean, you said it's a pilot project. I keep bringing a pilot project. What are you hoping that will come out of this in the near or distant future? And how prepared are we in TNT for the positive and negative consequences of actual traffic management?
Right. So the NTMC is really a cutting-edge technology that they use to manage traffic. It falls under the umbrella of intelligent transportation system. In an island like us, we can't build our way out of traffic. There's only so many land space that we have. So you must use the technology you have in order to effectively manage. But management doesn't only involve monitoring, it also involves other areas like enforcement, right, and those other things. So under this umbrella of intelligent transportation system, we monitor through the use of our cameras, which is the CCTV cameras, but we also enforce through the use of other technologies. What we call red light enforcement is another area. We also have average speed, which is another area we could use to monitor speeding on the highway. And we use the RLA, as I just said, in terms of the red light enforcement, which we actually have.
Describe a bit more on what exactly is a red light enforcement?
Okay, red light enforcement is basically another pilot project that we use where we're able to detect whenever a motorist breaks the red light.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And we can now process that violation and, you know, further it into ticketing that person either via mail or you know, it's a much more efficient, faster system that you could use, you know, to enforce proper road use.
This is pretty much done in some first world countries.
Yes, and they actually email it. They actually send the ticket to you, you know, in your mail. You collect it in your mail and stuff.
Any foreseeable challenges?
With respect to red light enforcement?
With respect to this technology and enforcing this in TNT?
Right. The challenges we would have would obviously be legislative, but we have on record, you know, we record over 1,000 violations a month, right? So we really have a challenge with that. The system was not meant to be punitive in that we don't really want to bring across the idea that we want to ticket it. Basically, what we're hoping to do is that once the public know we have that capability, we're hoping that driver behavior changes. Definitely. Right? It's like the seatbelt. The seatbelt law wasn't meant to be punitive. It was really meant to be a safety orientation. But once you know you can get ticket for not wearing a seatbelt, hopefully your behavior will change.
And ultimately, of course, save lives in the end, hopefully.
Yeah. Same thing with DUI, driving under the influence, and all of those other legislation, because safety is obviously the paramount goal in any establishment like ours, you know. And that is what the NTMC was hoped to aid in as well, because we faster response, faster clearing, less congestion. We have less incidents of secondary accidents because people taking too much time to look, which by the way is another big challenge for us. A term that they use in the States called rubbernecking. We know it locally as macro traffic. Right?
You can't get away from that here.
Yeah. That's a big challenge for us because, you know, most of the time the incident is cleared, but it takes sometimes hours because a lot of motorists slow down to look and see.
Darren Brito, supervisor of the National Traffic Management Center. We have some more for you right now.
Thanks, Reagan. Coming up, I will be interviewing the Minister of Works and Infrastructure, the Honorable Dr. Surujratan Rambachan, who will be taking your calls live on air. Call us at 622-4141 extension 4, or you can tweet at MOWIGOVTT, or post your questions on the Ministry's Facebook page. See you on the other side. And welcome back to WeTV, making a difference in your community. As promised, I am here with the Honorable Dr. Rambachan. Welcome, Dr. Rambachan, and thank you for taking the time to join us here on CTV. Now, before we take your calls at 622-4141 extension 4, I wanted to ask you some questions. So this is the initial episode of WeTV series. It's about the roles and responsibilities of the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. So can you take us through what your typical day is like in office?
Thank you very much for having me, and let me extend Ramadan greetings to the Muslim community, even as we sit here. And at the same time, to thank your station for hosting this particularly important program as we try to bring the ministry closer to the national community. As you've seen in the earlier part of the program, several of our directors were introduced in terms of the different divisions. But your specific question with respect to a typical day of the minister in office, in the Ministry of Works, it's very different to my experience as a Minister of Foreign Affairs, where I was before, and Minister of Local Government. The Ministry of Works is a doing ministry. And I would say just about 20% of my time is really spent in the office. In Port of Spain. Most of my time is really spent out in the field, reviewing projects and looking at what is happening, listening to the complaints and giving attention to what people need in their various communities. The Ministry of Works is undertaking, for example, this year about 13 major bridges. Each one of these bridges would cost over $10 million. And they are spread across the country. We are, at this point in time, tendering another 13 bridges and designing a further 15. Because what we found is that of the 900 bridges that come under the purview of the Ministry of Works, 97 of those bridges have structural problems. In other words, it is possible that some of those bridges can fall down, as happened with the Mayfield Bridge in Valsayn, which we had to reconstruct. Apart from that, there's some major projects going on. The highway to Point Fortin, the Diego Martin expansion, the Valencia expansion, the bypass, and the Caroni area where we are putting in a new highway also. So there are a lot of work that's going on. In fact, just to quickly tell you, on the PURE alone, the PURE program, we have approximately 740 projects that we are doing there at the moment.
Great working ministry indeed. We have a caller from Diego Martin. Hello?
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 Yes?
Hello?
Yes?
Hi, sir.
Hello?
Sir, could you listen on your phone and not on your television? We're getting a lot of feedback.
Right.
Great.
Hello?
Hello? Yes, we're hearing you.
Dr. Rambachan.
Yes?
I live in Victoria Gardens.
Yes.
And this extension of the highway, to me, it's taken too long. I find it's too long, and it's causing a lot of inconvenience. When is it going to finish? Do you have a definite date? And second thing is the connecting road from the gas station going east. That should have been a wider road. I don't know if you agree with that or not. Thank you.
All right. Just to let you know, the Diego Martin Highway is not taking longer than we had planned. It is on time. It is within budget. We are 97% complete on the highway, and the highway will be officially opened on the 14th of August.
We're looking forward to that. Caller from Chaguanas.
Yes. Hi,
Yes.
good night.
Good night.
Good night, Mr. Minister. Good night,
Hi, good night.
hostess.
Good night.
I have a question as to if the government has anything in place or anything on the table as to the use of the highways by backhoes and tractors, because it's something that concerns me as I'm a road user. I use roads every day, and it's something that it lack of a better word, it really, really gets under my skin. It irritates me a lot because they, first of all, pose a nuisance to the regular flow of traffic. And there's the added problem with there's mud on the wheel, and I mean, for a country that planning ahead in a first world direction, this is something that I think is for when we had less cars on the road. Now, I believe something should be done because it's been going on for quite too long a period of time. Do you have anything in place? Do you plan to do anything about it at all? I'll listen off the air. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you for your question. I think that's an excellent observation that you have made. Very, very intelligent observation. And we have been speaking to the large contractors, especially with respect to the times of the day which they move equipment on the road, and especially transport larger pieces of equipment as well as the trucks. But you would also recognize that we're in a period of time when we are really intent upon improving the infrastructure across the country. And this will entail some degree of extra movement of heavy equipment. This is why we are involving the police a lot of times in terms of the movement of this equipment so as to minimize the disruptions that are taking place. But I note your observation, and I will have further discussions with the Director of Highways on this matter, as well as the traffic police.
Thank you, Shagonas. Williamsville, caller. Good night.
Hello, good night. Good night.
Good night.
Hi.
Good night. Yeah. Just calling Mr. Ramachan about the Esmeralda Branch Road.
Yes.
Well, I think you know the condition.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. You recognize that what we have done, we started at the junction of Whiteland and fixed the Coruscant Road, right, come up straight up to Esmeralda Branch. Now we have gone from Esmeralda Branch Junction right up to the TCL Recreation Ground. And when we are about to pave that section that we have just put in the concrete works, I'm going to be doing your section coming on the Esmeralda Branch Road to connect back with the Mapipi Road.
Okay then.
Great. Princestown next.
Yes, good night.
Good night, Princestown.
Hi.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Dr. Rambachan
Yes.
if he knows the kind of material being used on the Pulsing Road in Princestown. Right?
Okay.
Do you know what kind of material is being used there?
I'll tell you one thing that has happened over the last couple of weeks. We have had to reject certain materials that have been dropped on our roads. We have also had to actually remove 1 or 2 contractors from jobs and terminate their contracts because of poor quality material and as well poor quality work. And we are going to be taking a very hard line on contractors who do this. That job he's referring to is a job that is done under Mr. Hayden Phillips and Pure, and we do test the material. There are certain specifications which are given to contractors. If they don't meet the specifications, they will have to dig it up and put back the right specifications. I'll give you an example. Just last week, a contractor delivered a load of concrete where we were doing some concrete works in the Guaracara area, and it was rejected. And that is to the cost of the contractor. So that we have taken a very hard line in terms of quality and in terms of the quality of the material also that is being brought onto the jobs, because we pay very well for our work and we expect people to give us value for money.
Of course, quality assurance indeed. Minister, before we wrap up, any closing words?
Well, I'm happy for the calls, and it's always good to hear the views of the people, because as a ministry, what we do is serve people. This is what, our tagline is, your government working for you. And that's what we are doing, working for the benefit of people. And we intend to do everything that will make life easier for people. We speak about a higher quality of life, but we are delivering the infrastructure that will improve the quality of life in the country. I simply want to thank the officials of my ministry, the Permanent Secretary, Ms. Isaac James, Mrs. Sonia Yearwood, the other DPSs and so on, but especially people like Mr. Roger Ganesh, Mr. Hayden Phillip, Mr. Navin Ramsingh, Mr. Wong Wai and others Mr. Dulal Ramlal, the guys work so very hard, and my communications department, Tiffany Richards and others, to ensure that the message gets out there. I just want to give people one number, and I want to ask you to use it to text me. Please do not use it to call me, or text your problems. 792-1155. That's a telephone that I've dedicated for people texting me, and that's the way I get information about what's happening. For example, today I got information very quickly from using that number from a person in Ridge Road in San Pedro, that a contractor went in there 3 months ago on behalf of WASA, put in material and didn't go back.
Great.
So this is how I want people to use that number.
Good. So you're in touch with your ministry working for you. Thank you, Dr. Rambachan, for your time and for joining us on CTV. See you next week.